time round, the show comes to you from Amsterdam in the Netherlands as we look at Kenya-Netherlands ties.
There's a lot of trade and passenger travel between the Netherlands and Kenya.
Our trade ties between Kenya and Netherlands is working very well.
Last year we did over 162,000 tons that we exported of cut flowers from Kenya.
You see a lot of people flying, for example, taking either a KLM flight out, returning on a KQ flight. For many years we've done that, and that partnership really created benefits for many of our customers.
And what's new as the Flying Dutchman celebrates 100 years in the skies?
It's nice to have a modern airplane for us to fly to Nairobi, of course.
But this 787 is really our princess of the skies. It's new, it's modern, it's fresh.
Welcome to the program. My name is Elijah Mwangi. Let's have our fact sheet.
The Netherlands, a country in northwestern Europe, has a population of about 17 million people, all living within a total area of roughly 41,500 square kilometers, making it one of the most densely populated countries in the world. Netherlands has been Kenya's largest export market in Europe for the last 5 years and among top 5 globally. Leading export products include flowers, vegetables and fruits, while imports include refined petroleum, aircraft parts, industrial food preparation, machinery, among others.
In the year 2018, Kenya exported commodities worth in the region of 46.4 billion Kenya shillings against imports of 19.4 billion Kenya shillings. That is a positive balance of trade in favor of Kenya of 27 billion Kenya shillings.
These trade ties have partly been cemented by the flag carrier airline of the Netherlands, KLM Royal Dutch Airlines.
We use Kenya as a hub towards other regions and other countries in Africa. So the business is really doing well and it's growing rapidly in the last years. So every year a double-digit growth, more than 10% growth from the Dutch market to Kenya.
Kenya has an embassy in The Hague, which also happens to be the home of the International Court of Justice as well as the International Criminal Court. For the Chamwada Report, my name is Michael Zimanji.
Welcome to Amsterdam, Netherlands' commercial capital and also the most populous city. From the cycling routes to canal cruises at the heart of the city, Amsterdam stands out as a city of contrast between modernity and ancient past. Amsterdam canals continue to define the city's landscape, and this Amsterdam's canal ring is now recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's a city that could be miles away from Kenya's capital, but very close to some Kenyans, especially those in floriculture. Flower business is a booming business in Amsterdam.
Well, in the Netherlands, the flowers are enormously important. But as Kenya is growing lots of flowers here, particularly around Lake Naivasha, many flowers that are traded from the Netherlands are not grown in the Netherlands. So Kenya is one of the most important providers of flowers to the Netherlands, which are then auctioned and sent to shops in the Netherlands, but also beyond.
So, what makes Netherlands market so lucrative for Kenyan flowers?
Netherlands has been able to nurture the business of flowers for many years. They have over 150 years experience in growing and selling flowers. So they have developed good systems, good processes, good logistics to be able to access almost every part of the globe. We talk to some of the countries that import flowers, including those in the Far East, and they tell you we import Dutch flowers. that means we import flowers from Netherlands. That is what they are simply telling you. But when we probe them further and tell them that do you know that Kenya commands 40% of the market share in Europe? And they go like, probably then we are buying Kenyan flowers.
Kenya ranks as the world's fourth largest exporter of cut flowers, behind the Netherlands, Colombia and Ecuador, and makes up 7% of global market share. Now, the Kenya Flower Council is tasked with promoting global competitiveness of Kenyan flowers.
At the international level, we negotiate trading terms with tariffs, with the matters to do with the phytosanitary. We also look at non-tariff barriers that may exist. So we work very closely with government on treaties and other issues that open up markets for our growers and exporters.
For flower business to flourish, reliable air transport is key. And this is where Kenya Airways and Royal Dutch Airlines, KLM, comes in handy. Both airlines operate direct flights from Nairobi to Amsterdam. Recently, KLM became the first airline to fly the latest Dreamliner 787-10 to Kenya. A move that the Vice President Network Planning at KLM, Siko Marsman, terms as a major boost to KLM cargo.
So for us, cargo is always an integral part of the operation. Especially also on Nairobi. On Nairobi we have the 787-10 where we fill with cargo, and we also have the full freighter which is only for cargo. The 787-10, where I will concentrate on now, it's in the range of, I think, 15 ton what we can operate on cargo. And in that sense, it has a lot of focus for KLM to have that on board, because without those cargo revenues, we would not or hardly be able to operate the Nairobi route.
KLM is a very interesting partner because it's not just involved in the freight only, but when you look at the gateway, the way, the role they play in the gateway, and that we are talking about the main gateway, which is Schiphol, they play a critical role, and therefore they have come in to play that role. And whenever we have issues, maybe on space, on landing rights, on how much volume could be allowed into Schiphol or into other airports, adjacent airports within Europe, they have a very big say around it.
From opportunities of Kenyans in Netherlands to Dutch in Kenya.
What comes to mind right away here is the Netherlands Business Network in Kenya, which is really a platform of the business community, the Dutch business community in Kenya, playing a very critical role to liaise with the local business community, exploring opportunities and exploiting those opportunities for the mutual benefit of our two countries.
Kenya is important here in East Africa, and ever since '69, when KLM started flying, Kenya has been a hub in the region. It has been a very favorable destination of Dutch companies, of which we have already some 200, over 200 in Kenya right now. Then, of course, Kenya is attractive as a tourist destination. There are many summits that are being organized here. So there's a lot of trade and passenger travel between the Netherlands and Kenya.
Important to note is that the Netherlands is also keen on development cooperation with Kenya. And come 2021, the Dutch government will be shifting focus from aid to trade.
We know that when the population grows and also the number of youngsters that need to enter the market, the better educated, the healthier they are. And if they are well fed when it comes to food security and food quality and food safety, if those elements are secured, then there is an enormous great future for Kenya, because then they have a workforce to be jealous of.
Well, at this point, we take a short break, but still to come.
This craft is much better than what they were using previously.
I'm really proud today that we have the 787-10.
When you talk of Kenya-Netherlands ties, something comes to mind, the Royal Dutch Airlines. And this is what brings me here at the KLM headquarters in Amsterdam. The Flying Dutchman has been in the skies for the last 100 years. And just for the records, it has been ranked as world's most sustainable airline by the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. Considering that aviation is highly competitive and capital intensive, I want to know how KLM has managed the headwinds in the aviation industry.
What made us where we are now is that we are a really pioneering airline. So we really tried to be innovative and pioneering. Of course, what helped us is that Schiphol and KLM really developed into a connecting airline and a connecting hub. Schiphol played a huge, important role in this. We are currently the most sustainable airline in the world, but we want to keep this position and we want to earn our right to fly in the coming 100 years. So sustainability, digitization, those are the topics that in the way forward are important.
In 2019, KLM marked 50 years of flying from Netherlands to Kenya. Just how important has this route been for KLM's market in Africa?
South Africa is like maybe the most popular destination to go, but soon followed by Kenya. Of course, we use Kenya as a hub towards other regions and other countries in Africa. But still, we have Dutch people going to Kenya to visit your beautiful country, to business, to go for leisure, holidays. So it's the ideal mix, I believe. Business, good cargo, and great leisure destination.
Then there is the business side of flying, which is critical for any airline to survive in the industry. Well, the flying business can be a bit complicated at times, and key decisions have to be made if the venture has to make business sense.
We have to determine, is the market big enough? It's not only the size of the market, it's also which part of the market do we think we can catch, which passengers will choose for us instead of choosing competition. And there we have various tools, and of course we have a team of very experienced people who make business cases also on the revenue side to determine what will be the load factor, what will be the yield, how full will we be able to do on the business class versus economy class, which countries in Europe or North America will contribute to the passenger volumes, and there we then try to assess from the revenue side, okay, what load factor does it bring, what yield does it bring, and is that enough?
Yes, calculations have to be done, and at times it calls for a change of the entire game plan.
We are moving to more fuel-efficient aircraft at a fast pace. We are currently phasing out the Boeing 747. We are in the midst of that process that will be finalized in the start of summer 2021. And thereafter we will also phase out our A330s, our Airbus aircraft, that will be finished more or less in the midst of the 2020, 25, 26. Those aircraft will be replaced by a very fuel-efficient Boeing 787s, 787-9, and especially also the 787-10. We currently have 3 787-10s in the fleet, and we will be rapidly phasing in also next year new aircraft when the 747 is phased out.
Indeed, it's never about pomp and color, it's business. And so while Boeing 747 might have been looked at as KLM's Queen of the Skies, the top management realized it's not the best for business. For them, Boeing 787-10 would be the game changer. And the new Dreamliner has now been introduced on Amsterdam-Nairobi route. Boeing 787-10 Dreamliner is 40 to 45% more fuel efficient than the Boeing 747 that was previously used, reducing the carbon emissions by 20%. In business, This means significant fuel savings. And for passengers traveling, well, it's time to find out. On board, I interact with the passengers.
It's a big improvement from the previous one, I can tell you. I did know when I booked the ticket that I was going to be on a new aircraft, so it was interesting. It's spacious, it's nice, it's actually quite nifty, it's quite nice.
What about talking to the pilots?
My co-pilot is controlling the computers. He will prepare the flight planning. I will have an overlook of everything is okay, and then I will be shortly in the cabin to check everything with the purser about passengers and problems with passengers. And of course, the time is very important, so we have an on-time departure.
Okay, this is a Boeing 787-10. How is this particular aircraft different from what you've been flying in the past?
Well, of course, it's a very modern aircraft. You can see like this is a head-up display. It's very new for KLM. It's nice to have a modern airplane for us to fly, and especially to Nairobi, of course.
I meant to understand that 787-10 is more fuel efficient. Maybe you can comment on that?
Yeah. You had before the 747 to Kenya, so I think we will do almost half of the fuel consumption.
And in terms of time or speed, rather?
Well, today we are flying a little bit faster because we are a little bit short on time, but it's almost similar the speed as the 747.
Thank you so much. Very quickly, let me just speak to Rogers. What should customers expect, especially when it comes to cruising?
Large windows, so you don't have to bend that much if you like to see something outside, and it's especially the most amazing thing, it's very quiet. There's not much noise on board. I think that's the main issues for passengers. More relaxing, there is more moisture in the air on board, so it is more relaxing.
The move to have Boeing 787-10 makes Kenya the second destination in KLM's Africa region to receive the new aircraft after Tanzania in July this year.
Introducing the 787-10 is good. Currently, they have been using the Boeing 747-400, but many airlines around the world are retiring their Boeing fleet. The costs are higher to operate, so they have invested in modern wide-body but smaller airplanes, which are far much more efficient, particularly in terms of fuel consumption. So we have bilateral air service agreement with Holland or the Netherlands, which has been there for years. That is what has allowed flights by KQ to Amsterdam and KLM to Nairobi from Amsterdam.
And I think that's the first thing which gives an indication of how important not only the route is, but also how the development, I would say, of the Kenyan, or in a bit broader terms, the Eastern African aviation market is. What we see, and that's really critical for us, to offer a passenger not only the flight to Kenya, but also the connection afterwards. And I think Kenya can be very proud of the hub, which is here in Nairobi, because it really creates a seamless travel also to different destinations, connecting to Eastern African, other Eastern African destinations, or even continuing to other African markets.
And in the context of Kenya-Netherlands ties, it's important to note that KLM has a stake in Kenya Airways, which is currently a public-private partnership, with the largest stakeholder being the government of Kenya. KLM has 7.8% stake in the company.
I think we grew together. For many years we've done that. I think it's important also to highlight we've been partners for 25 years. And that partnership really created benefits for many of our customers. You see a lot of people flying, for example, taking either a KLM flight out, returning on a KQ flight, and we are the only ones who could offer that. I think beyond, and that's really important, if you would fly on a KLM flight arriving here, you connect with one of the KQ flights to any of the destinations, surrounding destinations, and that's vice versa, it's the same. So you can take KQ out and, for example, fly with KLM to North America.
I have always described Kenya Airways as our embassy extraordinaire across the skies of the globe. That is exactly what KLM has done for the Netherlands. The airline industry today is brutally competitive. You don't remain on the top or at the top for the length of time that KLM has done if you're not doing something right.
Kenya is important here in East Africa, and ever since '69, when KLM started flying, Kenya has been a hub in the region. It has been a very favorable destination of Dutch companies. So it's only natural that not only KLM flies every day, but also that it puts its newest plane, which is also cleaner, less noise, in action between Amsterdam and Nairobi.
Well, they say that God made man and the Dutch made Holland, a phrase attributed to Netherlands' capability of reclaiming land from the waters. And as we wrap up this particular episode of Kenya-Netherlands Ties, here are some key lessons to take home.
Efficiency, accountability, good governance, constitutionalism, and really the spirit of living within your means. If you've been to Amsterdam, you get amazed by seeing whole parking zones of bicycles. People ride, even the Prime Minister has no problem riding his bicycle to the office. That is really living within your means. You don't want to be too ostentatious, or you don't want to be too extravagant.
From Amsterdam, or as they call it here locally, Adam, my name remains Elijah Mwangi, and on behalf of the entire Chams Media crew, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.